Nobody's listening in episode 9 of Andor, at least according to Cassian. He sure does say it a couple of times.
Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening. Nobody's listening!
So this is episode 2 out of 3 in the Narkina 5 arc, as I like to call it, and I already have reviews up for all the other episodes prior to this one, so do check those out. And while you're here, leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more Star Wars content. And let's get into the review now. So this episode starts with Dedra interrogating Bix, and this, of course, starts the torture because Bix, I gotta say, I honestly don't know if Bix really doesn't know anything about Luthen, or if she's trying to just hide him because she doesn't want to out him like that. Either way, it seems that regardless of what Bix is gonna say, Dedra is still gonna hurt her, torture her, and whatever. And it's just nasty. It gets really nasty in this episode, especially the guy, Gorst. I'm like, this is the most insane guy, the most insane Imperial that I've ever seen in Star Wars. The way that he is smiling, he seems to be truly enjoying the fact that he is torturing people, that they are killing entire species. Apparently he's like, oh yeah, I did this on my work today. It's like, if I talk about my boring ass job where I do production work, and it's like, yeah, no, I had a good day today. That's the same way that he's talking about torturing and killing people. What the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Oh my god, I can't believe these people. Once they start the torture, though, we see the door close, and look at that shot and then compare it to this shot in A New Hope. So eventually it seems like Bix does talk, and Dedra has some info to go on, and then she goes back to Coruscant, and she is able to link Bix's story to Cassian, Luthen, and also Aldhani, actually, which is like, okay, they're really investigating well, and I love that part of this episode where the investigation that Dedra is doing is actually leading to potentially getting Luthen. And the funny thing is, Luthen at no point appears in this episode. And when they then finally get to the point where they have a rebel pilot in custody, it's like, is that Luthen? For a moment, I actually thought that it could have been. Of course, it's not. We know that he's fine and whatnot. But yeah, it's like, I actually got someone. So that is actually a really clever way that the episode plays it out in that regard. At the end, though, when they talk about it with Partagas, then we hear the mention of Kafrene, and if you don't remember, the Rings of Kafrene is the location where Cassian is at the very beginning of Rogue One, and at the Andor panel 2 years ago, where Tony Gilroy was talking about how Season 2 is going to send Cassian to the Rings of Kafrene leading into Rogue One. That makes me really excited to see what that storyline is like, because it very much seems that Kafrene is an important location, and it's going to come back in Season 2. And actually, at this point, that's still like 4 years away or so. So Kafrene has a role to play, and I'm very excited to see what it does in Season 2. Also in this episode, it's starting to become funny what Cyril is doing, because, well, he got a kind of promotion. His mom is very happy with that, despite the fact that she's been snooping through his stuff. That's like, oh god, I'm just so glad at times that I see people still living with their parents, and I'm so glad that I don't anymore, because my god, like, yeah, just living with your parents does not give you any privacy. If you have the chance to move out, do that. I see so many people, and I'm like, god, why do you even live with your parents anymore? At least after a certain age, But Cyril seems much happier when he sees Dedra, and this is where it really starts to become funny, because Cyril, I already said this in like a previous review, I very much get the feeling that Cyril's into Dedra. Now, Dedra does not want anything to do with him, though, and she's like, I can have you arrested. She's not doing that, though, which is interesting. Like, she's only threatening him to the point where I'm like, maybe you're like actually kind of teasing him, and maybe you're actually into it. I'm not entirely sure, but honestly, I do find that storyline very funny and interesting to see what happens. Also in Coruscant, we see Mon Mothma do her senator thing, but we also learn that Val is actually Mon's cousin, and like the daughter of a rich family, and actually Vel is supposed to be this rich girl who has a perfect life and everything. And what I really love is that when we meet Vel a couple of episodes ago and see her pull the heist on Aldani, I fully believe that Vel is a rebel and really wants to, go against the Empire. So the fact that she kind of threw away her perfect life of, richness, and she is fighting for a cause that she believes in, that is just the mark of a great character. I think that we clearly see that there are people so committed to the cause of the rebellion that they want to do that. And speaking of doing things for a cause that you believe in, Tay Kolma comes back and tells Mon that he found someone, but there are a lot of things about it that Mon does not like about it. But Mon is just so scared that she can't do anything else but, go through with this. And it indicates that Mon is very much willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that, well, first of all, she doesn't really get discovered by anyone, because that is, of course, a very big thing. Like, she definitely wants to do something against the Empire, but she never wants to be discovered, at least not yet. We'll get there probably in season 2, but for the moment, she wants to stay under the radar. But yeah, the fact that she has to go through these lengths to work with people that she really doesn't seem to like, it's interesting. Now, over on Narkina 5, it seems that Cassian has adjusted to life there, and they're actually winning most of the shifts. Like, their table is really doing well. But Cassian is very smart in this episode, also very observant, and he's pushing it a little bit, of course, but that's good, I think. But yeah, you can see how we are going to the point where he's getting out of there, and he's also getting others involved, because we see how, he's taking a break and he's cutting through something. In the next episode, we see that it's a water main. He's talking to some of the other inmates, and he's very observant of, like, oh, the lifts aren't electrified. And I think this is honestly a really good buildup of tension. And there are some people who say, this show is slow. I disagree. If anything, you can say it's a slow burn, where, it does take a while to actually get to something, but the payoff is always there. And I do think, actually, having that build-up is necessary. It makes it more realistic, because there are also just some people, especially like Kino, who need more convincing as to why they really need to escape. Some people think, you know what, I just get to the end of my shifts and then I'm out of here. Now, of course, we learn an entire level was fried in this episode, so that's never going to happen. And the moment that Kino actually starts to realize that, he makes this face. And I think that says everything. That indicates that Kino is really starting to doubt the Empire right there. And of course, God, this episode gets depressing at one point, because, of course, we already had the big sting. I think that's, like, so hard to watch at times, Biggs getting tortured. But then also seeing Ulaf kind of lose his way already in the last episode that's set up. And then especially in this episode, to the point where he dies, it's like, oh my God. So honestly, it's quite depressing, this episode. But that finally convinces Kino. Like, he talks a bit more to the medic. He talks about, hey, what happened on level 2? What are you saying to my man? And then finally, after Cassian asks Kino several times throughout this episode, like, how many men are, guarding? How many men are there? When Kino gives the answer at the end,
Never more than 12.
that is like a fist bump moment for me. And ever since the first time I watched it until when I watched it just now again, I was like, fuck yeah, that is so awesome. Let's go. Because that is an indication of what's to come in the next episode with One Way Out. So while episode 9 might have been a bit of a downer in some ways with Bix and Ulaf, I do think it's still a great episode. Really sets up the next one well. And yeah, again, just the slow burn really works because the payoff is absolutely there. But I'll get into that next week. For now, I'll just ask, what are your thoughts on episode 9? Do you agree with me? Do you think I missed some things in my review? Please let me know in the comments below. Click right here to subscribe to my channel, or maybe you need another video, then click right here and check out what I have to offer on my channel. Look out, of course, for next week when I review One Way Out. I love that episode. But until then, may the Force be with you.